Welcome, residents, to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer Richard, and next to me, or across from me, is the doctor himself.
Hello. Important detail.
Hey, shitheads.
You know, you really can't enjoy the podcast unless you know specifically how we're sitting in relation to each other.
I figured that's the only way you can properly enjoy it.
Yeah.
No, across from me,
There's no desk in between us either. We're just knees to knees and staring into each other's eyes.
Isn't that how everybody
We're
does
only
podcasts?
using one mic. We're sharing it like an 80s music video.
Hey, I'm okay with that. Sorry, across from me is your number one fuckboy, the doctor.
Oh, I wish. I think canonically there's already a number 2 fuckboy from High and Mighty. I think I could maybe take...
Is that Arthur?
No, I think it's Jake.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, each week we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners just like you. Yeah, you're listening. If I'm crunching in your mouth, in your ears, I'm sorry.
It's because I brought the best possible snack for recording.
The doctor bought. It's called cement chips. I'm not sure if you guys have had those. It tastes like cement. Chews like glass. Cement chips.
Available in our merch store.
Exactly. We got a review.
Oh. Another one.
We're getting so many reviews. I'm so proud of you guys. I feel like a father, like whose son's finally like.
Yeah, you only had to beg for 20 weeks.
Well, now it feels like the reverse thing where I'm begging and then I finally get approval. And sorry, you guys feel like my father. That's what it is.
Oh no. Oh no.
We got a review from Ryan Putney. We read with a 5-star review on iTunes. He goes on to say, started listening to the podcast yesterday and I absolutely love it. Not only does Dr. DC talk about things DC, but also discusses Marvel from time to time. Dr. DC has taught me more about the DC, or more about DC that I never knew since I have been a fan of DC. He has great people working with him. Oh, Ryan.
I mean, he's only just started listening.
That's true. Oh man, it gets so much worse. I think he's actually thinking about my predecessor.
Who?
Huh? Who? He's great people working with him that ensure you get a laugh every episode. You haven't listened to this one. Lastly, he does a fantastic job creating great content just by answering listener questions. I highly recommend anyone interested in learning more about DC, or if you are a fan of DC or comics in general, you won't regret it.
Hey, that's a very nice review.
That's a super nice review.
Thank you.
Super nice
I'm
review.
glad you wrote it after only listening to a couple of episodes.
Yeah, stop now.
The reviews we get like later on, if you like listen to all the episodes and then read a review, it's like, oh my god, I just made it.
It's just like, I just need to do this so that it wasn't a waste of my time.
I just have to put this 5-star review up so Richard will stop posting my address publicly.
Oh my god, is that an option? Do you remember when Tom Green did that?
For who?
Do you remember the Tom Green show?
Yeah.
Remember when he got picked up and he was put on MTV?
Yeah.
And so he was up in that big, like, in the MTV building, and you could see, behind him was you could see out into the actual New York, like, city.
Okay.
And for a while, you remember Glenn Humplick, his friend who was also on the show? He started every week releasing one number from the guy's phone number.
Oh, I do remember that. Yes.
And it was pointing towards New York. And I remember getting it like, it was like 2 numbers away from it. And he was just like, you need to stop. He's like, people were already figuring it out.
Well, yeah, I mean, at the point where there's only 2 numbers left, there's only 100 options.
Well, that's right. I mean, you can't not figure it out.
You could spend a day figuring that out.
Oh, that was good. I didn't actually see what happened if he ended up revealing. I mean, I think at that point he basically already did. But
that's really funny.
It was quality content.
Oh, that's amazing.
All right, let's head on to the news. Speaking of going back, leave it in the past like it belongs.
Bury it.
DC announces comic tie-in series for Death of Superman animated movie, because that was necessary.
I mean, you know me, the eternal optimist with the DC news. But I mean, it's a comic tie-in to this animated movie because the animated movie has a different set of circumstances than the actual original Death of Superman comic.
Have you watched the movie yet?
It's a different Justice League lineup. It's like the New 52 kind of thing. So, like, yeah, if you want to tell a bit more of the story from that universe, that it's not the same as the original comic. I get that, but it does fit. If you just say it out loud, be like, oh yeah, this is a comic that's based on the animated movie that's an adaptation of the comic. Be like,
huh?
So like,
what?
I can't wait for the next animated.
This is actually the animated movie based on the comic, based on the animated movie based on the comic.
It's inceptioning a little bit.
What did you think about the movie?
I like it. I mean, I don't love all of these new 52 inspired, or like, I guess you'd call it era animated movies. Some of them I think are really good.
Make DC great again.
No.
Hey, this is the episode I can.
Yeah, I've seen the movie. I enjoy it. I don't always think that these movies are paced very well. Like Justice League War, which was the first sort of this set, was based on like the Justice League origin, like the first 6 issues of the New 52 Justice League, where they assemble to beat Darkseid.
Yeah.
The film is a bit different because it replaces Aquaman with Shazam, but in general, it's the same story. But the pacing it hews too closely to the comic, and it doesn't work as well as a film, I think.
Yeah,
it's still fun. Like the voice acting's good, the animation's good, but like,
I'm not into it. I don't like that style.
Yeah, I think in general with the animated films, I prefer the older stuff. Or the Elseworlds stuff. Like I liked Gotham by Gaslight a lot.
Hell yeah.
Despite issues with it, like The Killing Joke is a well-paced animated movie. I like Under the Red Hood or Justice League Doom or like those ones. Crisis on Two Earths. So yeah, I mean I'm okay with it. This Death of Superman one is probably the best of this new era, in my opinion. But I don't know that I need the comic. But if you are interested in it, like go buy it, enjoy it. Like I'm not trying to dissuade anyone, but yeah, it feels superfluous.
You better not.
I just don't know why we need a comic of a film of a comic.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't really make a lot of sense. I didn't realize that there were. I guess. I didn't think that about the fact that there already was a comic, and that makes even less sense.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, all right.
Sure. So, Doc, you want to be in a DC movie, right?
So freaking bad, to quote Bruno Mars.
Well, I think some things have happened that you may actually be able to.
Okay.
Mark Maron confirms himself and Robert De Niro for the Joker movie.
Okay. I mean, this is true. They're both confirmed. We talked about De Niro last week, but yes, Mark Maron is also confirmed to be in
Mark Maron's a famous podcaster.
Oh, I see.
They're pulling podcasters in.
I see what you're saying.
I'm just saying,
like maybe when I'm like aging and like more cynical than I am now, I'll get cast in a DC movie.
No. You're you're not anything like him.
Oh.
No, he's really funny. But now he's a famous
successful.
Yes, he's an actor and a comedian, and so I'm sure that those are the reasons. But the reason why he's famous and got those TV shows is because of how popular his podcast is. So I'm just saying.
Now, is he cast as do we know what he's cast as? Because we know that De Niro's playing like a talk show host that sort of inspires the personality of the Joker. But is Mark Maron in there because he's a comedian? Like, is that another inspiration or something? Or is he just playing like a character?
I think they haven't actually said who he's playing yet. I'd be very curious to see what type of role he could play. Did you watch him on Glow at all?
I actually haven't watched Glow yet.
Oh, so he's actually really good on that. I liked him on he had his own TV show at one point. Called Maron, and that was really good. So he's actually like coming out as a pretty decent actor.
Sure.
So it doesn't surprise me that like he's able to be in a movie like this. Yeah. I'm just kind of curious of like where the connection's going to be. I could see him being used as some sort of like television, like some sort of like news like anchor or something like that. I
could see it going two ways. If he's like
or like a cop,
or I was going to say he's like the. I could see like the camera pans away from De Niro as a talk show host. It's just Maron like producing and sitting behind the camera.
That's true. Maybe he's doing a podcast about the Joker.
Yeah, or something. Yeah.
As far as I know, they haven't said of who he is yet, but I like the fact that he's going to be in it, and I think it's becoming telling of like the way that they're casting this movie, considering like you have these two powerhouse actors like Joaquin Phoenix and De Niro like coming into this Joker movie. Like that's already giving me a lot of confidence. Now you're taking these sort of like comedians, indie actors, or
like up and comers, like so Mark Maron and that Zazie Beetz from Deadpool 2 is supposed to be in it.
I like the way they're casting it, and I hope that's indicative of the type of film it's going to be. I mean, it's a lower budget too. Like that's giving me a lot of confidence. Like they're making a lot of the right choices for a movie that I know that you don't really want.
Yeah, what I will say is I'm more interested than I thought I would be in a movie that ultimately I don't think needs to exist.
For a premise that you hate?
Yeah. The idea of a definitive origin of the Joker. My ultimate hope is that we get into that movie and the movie itself calls into question what is true. In the way that something like a movie like Memento or a movie, like there's other movies that call into question whether or not your perception is correct.
Sort of like an Inception
or like the Rashomon kind of thing where like there's different perspectives and maybe he's telling half-truths like that I'm into. But I'm not excited for the idea of going into a movie no matter how well made or well acted and coming out and being like, oh, that's where the Joker comes from.
I hope that so you get through the whole movie and then they pan away and there's like a dead security guard or something laying on the ground and you look at his like name tag and it says like whatever they chose the Joker's name to be.
Oh, like that Arthur Fleck.
Yeah, and that's you realize that like he just took that name.
Well, it's funny that you say that. So in the New 52, so the Joker's origin in the comics always has this step of before he was like completely insane psychotic, he was just a sort of like normal hacky villain called the Red Hood. Wore like a tuxedo and a red hood.
Weird that they reuse that later on.
Well,
but
it's not weird, it's deliberate.
That makes sense.
And then as the Red Hood, he falls in the thing and becomes the Joker and blah, blah, blah. In the New 52, they introduced the idea that the Red Hood was like a gang, and so like they would basically like strong arm or blackmail people into being part of the gang and committing crimes, and that was their way of keeping like you couldn't get to the top of the gang, right?
Yeah,
because they would just like send like the hood to someone and be like, you have to be here, you have to be here, and they do. It looks in the 0 Year arc like Batman is figuring out who Red Hood 1 is. And then you discover that like Red Hood 1, the guy that he thinks it is, has been dead for like weeks and then replaced by the guy that would become the Joker. So even there, they do a little like switcheroo, like you're this close to, you think you're figuring out the Joker's actual origin, and I'm into that. I like that idea. And I do like the moves that are happening. I'm weirdly interested in this movie, even though I like fundamentally don't like its basic premise. Yeah, I mean, we're getting more and more news of this movie, and I think it's
winning me over.
It starts filming very soon, doesn't it?
It's like a 2019 release, I think. Like, we're gonna get it like soon.
Yeah, 2019, we're gonna get Shazam, this Joker movie, and Wonder Woman 1984.
I'm just saying, like, Avengers Infinity War 2 or whatever, it's better be really good because it's becoming the year of DC. 2019, I'm feeling like
at least on volume. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I don't know. The quality sounds so far like it's going to be like yeah. And then also leading into it, we have like Aquaman and we're getting a lot in a short period of time. And it all looks like it's actually going to be good. Now, I've said this before and we've been painfully hurt.
Yeah. Don't go back to like issues like 19 to 23 where we're like, oh my god, Justice League is going to be the best movie that's ever come out. We were so young. We
knew so little, so naive. DC can't hurt me like that again. And then just as soon as I get a you up text, I'm like, yeah, anytime. Yeah. I'm available.
That's pretty much what that Aquaman trailer is.
You up?
Just running back.
Baby, come back. You can put all on me. Super Pets movie from Lego Batman writer in the works at Warner Bros.
Yeah.
What is this making you feel?
It's a weird announcement, because it's the Super Pets. It's not a weird announcement if you're looking for like a real like family oriented superhero movie.
It's not DC at all. Like, I'm loving this.
Do you know what would be a poor move is if they were like, do you know what we did Zack Snyder dirty, so to make it up to him, we're bringing him back, and he's doing super pets like that. Like that would be a weird move. I don't need to see like Crypto like sad in the rain.
No, God, no.
But if it's like a weird like superpowered homeward bound kind of like kids movie, like
yeah,
you could get like Crypto, the super dog, Ace the Bat Hound.
Oh my God, could you imagine if they
Streaky
did it in live action? I just assumed they were doing it
Streaky
in animated.
I think it's live action.
Oh my!
Streaky the Super Cat. I think it would
Is this going to be Bolt?
I think it would be Storm. Like Aquaman's seahorse might be in it. If it's anything like comic books,
That's good. Too much CG. I don't want that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, it's a weird announcement. I just don't know what to make of it. But like, if it's like a fun, like, you know, like rated G, like take your kids, like we'll watch a dog fly. Like that's fun. I'm all for it. Yeah. I just was in a conversation on Twitter like last night, I think, where I was saying like there's room for the light and the dark in the same universe.
Yeah.
They don't have to be like, oh, that takes place on this Earth because it's fun. Like you can like, I think we're already seeing that. Like Shazam is a markedly different tone of film from Man of Steel, but they take place in the same world. You know, like there are people who are happy and there are people that are angry and there are people that are sad and there are people that are, you know, like whatever, excited. They all exist on the same planet and movies can do the same thing. So I'm all for having over here Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, which I love.
Yeah.
And then over here having some ridiculous Super Pets movie that I could also love for totally different reasons.
Yeah, I think it's a wide open ocean. I think if Marvel can do it, DC can do it too. This is a
very, very early announcement though. I'm curious to see if it makes it past like any sort of pre-production. Like I
like that their head's there. I like that they're open to the idea and they're writing it and
yeah, they're giving something to go. But yeah, I have to think it's going to be a kids movie and not like Daniel Day-Lewis as Crypto. Like it's
no. I think like I just hope it doesn't become like
Michael Fassbender as Comet the Super Horse.
I wish that
that was deliberate casting. By
yeah,
the way.
no, obviously.
Go see Shame.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of this. I just don't want it to be Bolt. I don't want it to be.
I never saw it.
No?
No.
Don't.
That was about the dog that can run fast, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Birds of Prey villain revealed.
Yeah. So
now you sent me this. You were excited about this enough to like be like, make sure we talk about it.
So it just got announced today, the day that we're recording, day of week, that the villain for the Birds of Prey movie, which is going to feature...
You don't have to say day of week if it was announced today. I think you can figure out what day it is.
Day of week. That should be something for the merch store. We should put out calendars where it just says month of year.
A complete
day of week.
A complete useless calendar.
It doesn't have any actual information in it.
It's just it's one of the day ones.
If you want that useless merch, hashtag calendar yes.
Oh my God!
And if you don't, hashtag calendar no. I'm bringing it back.
Oh my God!
So at any rate, we know this Birds of Prey movie is going to feature like Black Canary, Harley Quinn, Huntress, Cassandra Cain. The Question, maybe not as the Question, but Renee Montoya. But they announced that
you better put you kill my father prepared to die
every time. That the villain is going to be Black Mask, who's a Batman villain, a notorious like violent mob boss in Gotham City. His real name is Roman Sionis.
Now, what books like are a really good example of where you can find Black Mask?
Black Mask has become a pretty good arch nemesis of either or the Red Hood, like Jason Todd, and Catwoman.
Is there any specific runs that like?
I would definitely say the first arc of Red Hood and the Outlaws, like the Rebirth one, not the New 52 one. That's a good Black Mask one. There's if you've played Arkham Origins, Black Mask is technically a character in that game. I think in Under the Red Hood, Black Mask, plays a role. And certainly in the animated film, you get the sense of that. But yeah, his name is Roman Sionis. He's a like psychopathic mob boss. But his family like has wealth in the form of, I think it's called like Janus Incorporated, which is like a cosmetic company. Weirdly, this is well tied to the DCEU because in that opening Batman scene in Justice League, as he's fighting the Parademon, they fly by a building with a big Janus sign on it. Janus. Not like
Chandler.
Yeah, not Chandler's girlfriend. That's exactly where I was going.
I know. What other Janus is there?
Yeah, but I'm excited for that. I think that's a good. It's a good villain. It's rooted. He's a mob boss. It makes it about crime and just like violence as opposed to
magic and
he's not like a lord of chaos or something.
It's something like you can wrap your head around. It's something like
it's good for these kind of like street level heroes.
Also
like
for like
Black Canary,
a first
Huntress.
Season, you're not trying to go.
Well, it's not. No, it's a
sorry.
Movie.
Yeah, for like the first movie or whatever, it gives you somewhere to go. Like
Huntress, like Helena Bertinelli, she has like a mafia connection, like in her family in the comics. So there's a lot of things about this that make sense to me.
Yeah.
So that's kind of exciting. Plus, it's obviously nice to have like. It's nice that they weren't just like leaning on something easy, like Penguin.
Mm-hmm.
Or like or Joker, like they already have Jared Leto on speed dial, like bring him back. It's good that they're not doing that. It's that they're doing something, character that we haven't seen on the big screen yet.
Be curious to know who the actor that ends up playing that is.
Yeah, I was trying to think like who I would cast. I don't know that I actually like have someone in mind. I'm not sure.
Viggo Mortensen.
Ooh, I like that.
I figured you would, yeah.
Oh, I need to leave.
Supergirl movie takes flight at Warner Bros.
Well, yeah, I think they're exploring the idea of a Supergirl film. It's not green. It's not green lit.
You fucking keep your feet on the ground, all right?
Well, I just mean it's not like going into production or anything, but I think they're working on some like treatments and stuff like that to see if that's where they're going to go.
Do they use the Supergirl from Supergirl? Like,
no. This would, I would think, be either DCEU. It would be tied to Cavill's Superman, or it would be that like other world where we have these disconnected movies. We made Joker. Maybe we'll just make a Supergirl movie and it's its own thing. But I think either way, you don't use the TV.
So what's a Supergirl movie you would want to see?
That's tough. I mean, I'll be honest. I don't read a ton of Supergirl. To me, the thing I enjoy about the character is the struggle that she faces in that when they leave Krypton, she's like 15 years older than Cal. She's supposed to look after him. And then because of circumstances and Phantom Zone and stuff like that, she comes to Earth late and isn't aged. And Cal is an adult and he's already a practiced superhero with his powers. He becomes her like mentor.
Yeah.
But I think there's a struggle between, she knows she's older. You know what I mean? Like she should be his equal, but he's maybe sees her not that way or things like that. Like I like the tension in there. Yeah, I mean, I don't know of a specific story I'd want to see it adapted.
Like, do you want an origin story?
Preferably not.
Like, do you want to see, like, she's been doing this for a really long time and, like...
Maybe not a long time, but I basically, I would like to see some sort of... It's the thing I complain about with the show. You need to get rid of Superman. It can't be comparing her to Superman, right?
So is Superman dead?
Well, no. That's not what I mean. I just mean he can't be even like a shadow in that movie, right? It's not about her trying to live up to him. It's not about blah, 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 blah. She can play that tension of that relationship and things like that, but it's not about like, and here, I've proven that I'm just as good as you. It's got to be about her in a struggle that like she could only face. Like the Silver Banshee is a good villain with that. I think you can tie best to Supergirl. Like they're friends in real life.
Yeah.
Before she gets her powers, it's something personal. It's not like Brainiac showed up and we don't know where Superman is. If only someone could save us. Like,
yeah.
I hate the idea that there's this specter of the Man of Steel that would hover over the movie. You'd want her to stand on her own.
I think that's like definitely something that you have to be concerned about whenever you do anything with Supergirl. I mean, they handle it really, really well in the TV show, but they still bring him in every once in a while.
Well, and through the first season, you see his silhouette a couple of times, and they talk about the big guy or whatever. Like he's more present than I would like him to be. Nothing against Tyler Hoechlin. Like I think he plays a really good Superman, but yeah, I mean, it might be fun to put a Supergirl movie in space. We've had so much, like Superman's story is very much about who he is as Clark Kent because he's raised on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
But Supergirl isn't raised on Earth. She's a teenager when she leaves Krypton, and she's a teenager when she shows up. It might be cool to like take those powers into space, team her up, or pit her against Lobo, or like do something like that. I know it's the exact opposite of the Silver Banshee pitch that I just made, but like I'm just trying to think of things that would distinguish that film from what's been done with Superman.
I like that.
Yeah.
Who would you want to play?
Oh, fuck, I have no idea. Yeah, I don't think I have a casting loaded in the chamber. Do you?
I would say Emma Roberts.
Really?
I think that she could play that sort of character where it's like you see there's like wisdom behind it, but it's also like a young teenager.
Really?
I think she does both those things really well. I really like her in American Horror Story. I think she could really do a really good job. I think she's known enough to like hold her own movie, but not like well known enough that everybody's just like, ugh, like all I see is Emma Roberts in this
Sure.
role. But I'd be curious, is there any sort of like what was that? I can never remember this actress's name. She was in that movie where it's like the girl with the autism who like writes the Star Trek script.
I have no idea what this movie is.
Oh, it's gonna really bother me now. What's her name? That girl.
Oh, Dakota Fanning.
Dakota Fanning. I think she could do it.
That's an interesting one. I'm not opposed to that one.
I think like I mean
when to be honest, I hadn't thought about the casting thing. I don't have one in my head.
All right, well,
but I don't dislike that Dakota Fanning one.
Residents, let me know who would you guys cast? Who would be great for this role? Do you know who somebody who would be good is the from Mad Men, the daughter?
Oh,
she's just starting to like pop, I think, right now.
Yeah.
And I feel like she could bring some depth to that role without being her name's like Kiernan Shipka or something like that.
Okay.
She would be really good in it. But yeah, residents, let us know. Tweet at us what who you think would be a good Supergirl.
Yeah. If you have one that you think would be great, hashtag Supergirl yes. And if there's someone that you would never want to see as Supergirl, hashtag Supergirl no.
Maybe let's keep away from the saying no, because
should I bring this hashtag back? Hashtag yes or hashtag
no. We're not. Jesus Christ. Let's just keep it positive. Let us know who you think would be great for this.
Oh, I see where. Yeah.
No. I've given up on the hashtag yes and no.
Yeah, you're right. Let's only use the yes.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry, I just got caught up in the moment.
Oh my God. Well, speaking of Supergirl, Kara gets a new costume and a new mission in Supergirl 21.
Yeah, so her costume's changing up. It's got like black in it with like a white super logo. And yeah, I think her mission takes her into space. And it's mostly to investigate Rogol Zar, this supposed actual killer of Krypton that was revealed in Action Comics 1000 and then in the Man of Steel 6-issue series.
I like that they're going because this is I mean, this is a Supergirl comic, but they're taking information from like Action Comics. Like, I think that's great that that she's the one who's going to deal with this.
They're all connected, right? But it's true. I do feel, at least in the books that I've been reading, that the super family, not like that nuclear, like Clark, Lois, John, but like the extended super family feels less comic connected in the last, I'd say, 10 years than the Bat family.
Oh,
There's been lots of Bat family thing from, Batman Eternal, Batman and Robin Eternal, the James Robinson run on, or Tynion run on Detective Comics, where there's like the team with Batwoman and Batwing, Azrael, Red Robin, spoiler, like Orphan. They're all kind of in there. I feel like you get a lot better sense of like the unit of the Bat family than you do of the Superman family. There have been instances where they all show up. You get Superwoman or Steel or these other characters, but it's so I do like that Supergirl is carrying this thread on.
It's awesome. I think it's great.
I think it's a really good move. Yeah.
Well, now we're heading into this week's theme. Finally, Trebek, my time has come.
Good reference.
Inappropriate moments.
Yeah. And the main reason that we're doing this is because you are listening to issue number 69.
Because, like, chicks.
Nice.
Because, like, I know. Because that's like when, like, I put my...
No, you're already wrong. I can see what you're doing with your hands. You're way off.
I mean, there's no hands involved?
No. I guess maybe.
What have I been doing?
For leverage.
Leverage? Oh, what? God. I've been at the bottom. Wait.
I think what you've been doing is called the 38.
Well, I think you've described that in a previous episode.
But yeah, so there's lots of moments in comic books and animation and things like that are, like when you watch a kid's movie, there's like winks in there for the adults that are also watching. There's lots of that shit in comic books. Either when there was the Comic Code Authority and they wanted to like imply something saucy, or you can't just like, they're not like, you're writing a story, you're not like trying to draw porn, but you want to be like, yeah, these characters have sex. So it's like you just imply things or whatever. So we want to go through and talk about like inappropriate moments, or some of like the funny like double entendres, or the sort of suggestive implications and things like that in this episode.
Was there any like movies as a child you remember where like your parents would like close their eyes at a certain part?
No, because I think my parents were generally, I think if they felt that strongly about it, I wouldn't have been in the position to watch.
No, they just gave you porn. They were...
Well, no. In my day, you had to go online, go to whatever it was, like go.com, whatever your search engine was. You had to just...
Ask Jeeves, obviously.
Type in boobs and then like...
and wait for 10 hours?
And then you had to print it with an inkjet printer.
What you had to do was
fold it up and put it in your desk at school.
Well, that, or you went into a forest and found a pile of porn in the woods.
Well, yeah, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
I just found bodies.
I do remember a very specific memory of like trying to like download them like from like Kazaa and things like that. But it would just come up like the videos would take so long that you would just be like pre-watching it before it was done downloading.
Or you had to do the free trials of things because everything was credit card based.
That's right.
There was no such thing as just free streaming porn.
Oh, what
I don't know if that's a thing now.
No, God, no.
Hey,
we're married men.
If anyone has any sort of knowledge of porn, just let us know. We're totally new to this.
Send
world.
the doctor links.
My God, no, please don't spam my Twitter with porn. That's not what I want.
Just start putting drdcpodcast@gmail.com on like websites. Do you remember any like reading comics as a child and seeing something and being like, oh, I don't think I should see this?
No.
Like in comic books or anything?
Most of the comics that I read were ones that when I was a kid, were ones that I had gotten from my dad, and they were from an era...
Golden Age?
Silver Age, but they were from an era where they were...
Sorry, Dr. DC Sr., I just aged you.
Yeah.
Unintentionally.
Yeah, when my dad got out of the Great War and got super into comics... Yeah, no, they were in an era where
My day, you had to make your own porn, pencil and ink.
even with the Comics Code Authority, they weren't being too suggestive. They were pretty wholesome generally. It'd be things like, "Oh, shucks, she's pretty," but that's not suggestive. That's just like a sentence.
Yeah.
Like it's and so that, I think,
It's not like, look at the cans on Wonder Woman.
it's certainly not like that. Yeah. It's funny that you say that, because there's an issue of, I think it's 52, the series 52, which was like a weekly one, where Starfire and Animal Man or whatever, they're on like another planet, and she's like knocked unconscious or something, and Animal Man's kid makes some comment about how she's ET with double D's or something, like some shit like that. That would be an appropriate thing to bring up for this episode.
Well, let's find out if people did it. Let's go over to Facebook.
Go to the face, say in the book. Go and do the Facebook.
Thank you. Good old Adam Upper.
Hey, Adam.
He's posted. We're getting a lot of images on Facebook. I really like this one, which is.
Please stop sending us dick pics.
I know. I don't need to see Robin.
Facebook.
I only need to see Robin once, and that's more than enough. So it's a caption with the Joker like slamming his fist on a newspaper, and it says, "Meanwhile, the Joker's hideout," and the Joker exclaimed, "So they laugh at my boner, will they? I'll show them. I'll show them how many boners the Joker can make."
Yeah. So this is a very, very famous, like, it's become a great meme. Like, you see this online a lot, this particular issue. It's important to note that at the time, in the 40s or 50s, whenever this issue came out, 50s maybe, I think it's Batman number 66 that this is from, the word boner means...
hard dick. Unlike now.
Erect penis. No, the word boner means, like, mistake. So the premise is that the Joker has a plan foiled, and the paper starts making fun of him, and he's like, "Oh no, fuck you guys!" And his plan is basically to like flip it on Batman to make Batman look like he's messing up. So then it's like Batman's boner is the biggest in Gotham. Like, there's all sorts of double entendre.
I'll fill them with Joker's boner.
There's so much double entendre in this story. I get that's what the word means, but like when you write a story, you use synonyms, right? Like, but they don't say mistake. Like, every time they want to say mistake, or I almost said cock up, or like any sort of synonym, they use the word boner. So the word boner is probably written like 60 times in this story.
Batman's coming to stop Joker's boner.
Well, that won't help.
Well, if they do it together. We'll stop it. At least temper it.
I just thought of Heath Ledger's Joker saying, "You complete me. You bring me to completion." But yeah, so that story is basically, it just hasn't aged well. The terminology, we don't use the word boner to mean that anymore. So when you read this story, they're just like, boner, boner, boner. And it's just, yeah. It's just it's like a funny, stupid thing to laugh at, but I can't believe how many times they use that word. It's like the editors went through and they were like, "Oh, you just said mistake here. Let's throw another boner in."
Hold on. So we have this new issue of Batman that we need to create. Now, we want the Joker to make a whole lot of mistakes. What's a word that we could use that, through time won't get any other meanings?
Do you know what I'd be interested to learn is when the word boner stopped meaning mistake and started meaning erect penis.
Well, Jim, we could say that he really cocked it up. No, I mean, that could clearly be something else at some point.
The word up could mean anything.
Yeah, we don't want to do anything that could possibly have any double meanings. Well, we could say that he really dicked around. Well, I don't know.
That might be confusing because Robin is Dick Grayson.
Yeah, we wouldn't want that.
Yeah.
How about boner? Of course, boner would never mean anything, Jim. Of course.
Kid, you got moxie.
You're going to go places here.
He was fired later that year.
What? 3 months later, boner became the new slang word for penis based on this comment.
I'm legitimately interested in learning when that word changed meaning. Like, if basically what I mean is, I don't know if this was double entendre at the time. I mean, I know that in the colloquial language, it definitely meant mistake.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it also meant that and they were being super cheeky and that's why they put the word in so many times, or if that's just like an accident of history.
Well, now that's something we really need to find out.
If any of you guys like listening know, I really, really want to know this. If anyone is like a linguistics expert or something, like
our fans are smart. Our fans could be
an etymologist or something.
Don't you tell our listeners what they can't be.
I didn't.
Jesus. What a boner. Chad Bogle.
Bogelman.
Chad says, if there was ever a time to talk about it, we should talk about one of the biggest controversies of the New 52. This moment with Starfire and Red Hood and the Outlaws. When it happened, a huge amount of fans were upset, whereas other found it in line with the character. Where did you fall? So the image is Starfire and Arsenal. And it goes, and we're here. Do you want to have sex with me? Now, who's I'm assuming that's Starfire saying she wants to have sex with Arsenal.
Well, yeah, she says, "Do you want to have sex with me?"
Arsenal goes,
says,
"Cack."
Like, aren't you like Jason's girl? She says, "Absurd. I sleep with who I want when I want, or I do what I want when I want with whom I want, or whatever."
If you're not interested, I can probably
like find someone else.
Yeah.
Is the implication? Yes. So this is from the New 52, Red Hood and the Outlaws.
I'm an outlaw.
This one is controversial.
On a Starfire.
So here's the reason why some people think it's not controversial. I'll start with that, and then I'll go back to why I think it is. People say it's not controversial because, first of all, Starfire has always been drawn very sexily. Also, like, she's an alien, and the idea is that her race are very, like, open physically, sexually, emotionally,
fluid, right?
All of these things. And like a literal superpower of hers is she can learn any language by kissing.
I've tried that pickup. It doesn't work.
I don't speak French yet.
Because it didn't work out this time.
That's really awful. But at any rate, so the argument is that she's always been like this, and that these panels show that she is an empowered a woman who embraces her own sexuality, who knows what she wants, and that sort of thing. That's the argument of the people that don't think this is controversial. I don't subscribe to that. So I've read lots about this specific thing and about like the representation of women in comics in general. Mm-hmm. And there's an important distinction to be made between empowering like sexualized women and objectifying them and stripping them of their power. So what happens is you could have a representation in the comic where she says, do you want to have sex with me? Blah, 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 blah. But it's how it's presented. This comic is like drawn, so you're constantly looking at her like ass, or you're constantly looking at her boobs. She is like just posing for no reason. And more importantly, it's denying a huge part of Starfire's character, which she is talking in this comic about completely emotionless sex. That's the opposite of what was established as Tamaranians. She could want to have sex with someone. It doesn't have to be a long-term relationship thing or anything, but she does have to have like a connection of some kind.
Yeah.
That's a thing about Starfire. She's very like liberal with her sexuality, but it comes from a place of wanting to connect with people or wanting to understand people, like even if it's a different approach to sex than we have. That's not what's happening in this comic. There's a I guess the phenomenon is you're not empowering women to own their sexuality as characters in comic books if you're writing them as quote unquote men with tits.
Yeah.
Like when she speaks, she's speaking what a male fantasy is. We would, if you hear like, oh, like a woman that owns her sexuality, the fantasy is that a random woman comes up to you and says,
would you like to have sex?
Would you like to have sex with me? Yes, no. Look, but that's not what that means, right? Like that's still the male gaze. It's still like you're actually still like removing agency. That's not the thing. So I actually think this is a poor representation. There are other versions of Starfire that do a much better job of balancing her like innocence, and not even innocence, just her like her curiosity and her like joie de vivre and stuff like that, with her like open sexuality and being and having agency and things like that. And this comic doesn't do it. The Starfire series that came out, that was Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor, that does a way better job of it. She's still sexy, like she's got curves and stuff like that, but she's also like a character with dimensions. She's not just there to be looked at or to had sex with. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, I side with the people that didn't like this. There's a lot not to like in that New 52 run of Red Hood and the Outlaws. It's a really poorly written, bad series. But that in particular sticks in the Croc of Starfire as a very loved character. Like a lot of people really relate to her, and it's such a departure from everything that was established beforehand.
Well, Chad sent another image that I desperately want to talk about, because
Sure.
I really need to know what the history behind this image is.
Okay.
So it's Superman, and it looks like he's covered with some white liquid, and there's a gigantic explosion right around his crotch area.
Right.
That says "spoosh."
Right.
And he's thinking, I'm stiffening up. Got to grab that hose.
Right.
Please explain this.
Yeah, he came. No.
Oh, cool.
Next question.
Nice.
I don't specifically know what issue this one is from, but I'll speak to a couple of things. The liquid does look a little bit white, but this is
some might say cummy.
This yeah, they might say that.
Cummy bears bouncing here and there. And
Oh, no.
everywhere.
Oh no, that's why they don't let you onto the nature preserve anymore. So the one thing I'll say is this image looks like it's from an older era of comics, maybe Bronze Age, maybe even as far back as Silver Age. So I think just from an art perspective, Superman wears a blue like costume. If you're trying to draw water or something that's on the costume, you have to make it a different color. So they've made it lighter. It made it like sheen a little bit. It looks white. I don't think he's actually covered in white liquid.
Just looks glazed to me.
He's talking about like grabbing. I assume it's something to do with fighting a fire. That's the easiest assumption I can make about it. You know,
the fire in his pants.
And really, like what? There's got to be a reason that we use the word sploosh the way that we do. That's probably the onomatopoeia for any sort of gushing liquid is spoosh or sploosh or something.
That's
right?
true.
You know, it's not his fault. It's just the sound it makes.
So let's pretend that this was cum, because I want to.
Let's.
I know you've been waiting for this.
This is an Elseworlds thing.
This becomes the
Earth 69.
Let's address the age-old question, and one that was brought up in Mallrats.
Okay, yes, yeah.
Superman having sex. What happens? Can he have sex with a woman? Can he impregnate a woman?
Right.
Is he just going to shoot a hole through?
Is it Mallrats that one's in? Or Clerks or something?
It's Mallrats. They talk about it. Yeah.
Where he says like, he can't have sex with regular women.
Yeah.
Blow a load like a shotgun right through her back.
Yeah. What's your thoughts? I'm sure you and your father have had this conversation.
Oh, yeah. My dad and I talk about Superman ejaculating once a week.
You're referring to yourself, though, right?
That's a weird conversation to have with one's father.
Daddy talks about himself in the third person.
Weird.
You can call me Superman.
Yikes. Okay. I can see the comic book logic of everything else about him is super or whatever. There have been crazier versions, though, of Superman controlling his powers. It's not I can't believe I'm having this conversation. It's not.
Do it.
It's not
You
crazy
chose the
to
thing.
think that he, in the way that he can be super precise with his heat vision, more precise than we are with how we look at things. Like he could perform surgery and shit.
So what you're saying is that Superman's really good at edging?
I think he has super edging. I also think he has like super urethral control. I would not be surprised to learn that was a power.
Male Kegels?
Yeah. Super Kegels. Super edging is the grossest fucking power.
I think I found my Dial H hero.
But even if we put that aside, I actually think that there are probably... We never talk about, like, if Superman goes to take a leak in the woods, does he cut down a tree with his piss?
If no one hears it, did it happen?
That doesn't happen. He doesn't break a toilet every time he takes a dump. So I think you could reasonably assume that he'd be okay. And that the person he's having sex with would be okay.
Maybe he's like a bird and he poops when he flies.
The ultimate proof of this, though, is that he and Lois have a son, and she's not dead.
We don't know how that child came to be. What sort of insemination happened?
It's funny. There's a I forget which issue it is. It's relatively recent, but her father, Sam Lane, who's a general in the army, makes some comment about like, I have a grandson. By all accounts, that shouldn't work. I think they're implying that it's because he's an alien and she's human. Yeah. But they're also implying like, how did you not pulverize my daughter? Which is, again, a weird conversation to have with someone's dad.
Wouldn't be the first time. Matthew Poulter.
I'm glad we're not doing this episode with my dad here.
You're lucky that we're not doing it with Colin.
Well, always. Every time.
Yeah, anytime he doesn't show up is really a blessing. All right. So, Matthew Poulter, previous guest of the podcast.
Yes. Yeah.
Matt says, where do you guys fall on Power Girl's boob window? And her explanation behind it. So I didn't know that she had an explanation behind it, but so he provided us with an image that it's Power Girl looking exhausted and upset at something.
Yeah.
And she says, people always ask me why I have a hole right here. It's not the first time I've had that conversation as well.
Talking about her costume.
Yeah, sure she is. They think I'm showing off or just being lewd. But the first time I made this costume, I wanted to have a symbol like you. It's just two round symbols, right?
Jesus Christ.
She goes on to say, I just couldn't think of anything. I thought I would eventually figure it out and close the hole. But I haven't. And she looks real upset about the fact she hasn't.
Right. So
it seems like a weak explanation.
It is, but it's something. There's a funny sort of anecdotal story about Power Girl that I believe is relatively considered to be true. That when the character came around, yeah, she has this sort of boob window in her costume, so you can see cleave. But the story is that the artist, like issue to issue or like maybe page to page or something like that, was just drawing her boobs bigger and bigger each time, just to see if someone would notice.
Yes, I think you did see. And you talked about this before.
And by the time someone said something, like, that's why Power Girl has such like an enormous rack, is because this artist was just like, well, no one said anything, just kept doing it bigger and bigger. So, as for this explanation, requires a little bit of knowledge about Power Girl herself. Power Girl has had a few different weird origins based on retcons and things like that, but ultimately, she is the Supergirl of Earth 2, grown up. So she's an adult Kryptonian who used to be Supergirl. She's super muscular. She's built like an Amazon, but then she also has this like comically large set of boobs. And so in this comic, what she's saying is the premise is that she has the boob window because she doesn't necessarily think that she's worthy of the crest of Superman, or rather of the House of L. She doesn't think she deserves to wear it, and she was hoping that she would find her place, discover what she would make of herself, and then that would become her symbol. But she never found.
Where did she get her powers?
Well, she's Kryptonian.
Oh, okay. But she's not an L.
She is. She's Kara from Earth 2.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes, that's right.
So that's the idea. In Earth 2 World's End, in that series, they do eventually find the Cal that they had thought was dead for years, and he does die, but he like rips the symbol off his chest and gives it to her and says like,
Cover yourself up.
That's his last word. It's a shame his cousin. No, I was gonna say he gives you the thing that says you've earned this. Or like something to that effect, basically.
Yeah.
That's the comic book made up answer for the boob window. It is pretty weak. But it's not. I mean, if someone's just like come up with a reason for the boob window, that's pretty good.
Yeah. It's not bad. Do you think that like enough's enough? Like change your costume?
No, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with her costume.
No.
Because here's the thing too. I mean, of all the female characters that are like hypersexualized and things like that, and Power Girl is among them. Power Girl also has like an atypical body type. She's not just like muscular. She's like bodybuilder big. Like in some ways, she looks more jacked than Wonder Woman. Like she's got like the V and stuff like that. So like, I don't see anything wrong with drawing a character that is sexy and strong in that way. It's a different female body type, and those are hard to come by in comic books.
Yeah.
You know, like from simply that perspective, I mean, whether or not you need to see her cleavage, you don't. You could get the sense of her sexiness without that specific feature of her costume. But I don't have an inherent issue with it because there's something interesting that she's drawn so relatively differently from other female characters.
Yeah, I always like the like sort of militariness of her outfit. I always think that part's really cool, but I just don't think the window needs to be there. I think
no, it's not serving a function other than letting you look at her cleavage.
Yeah, which is I don't think it's a good enough of a function.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, well, let's head over to Twitter.
Twitter.
Okay.
Is it weird that I can't just do a couple of? I'm trying to find I'm doing like an 8 count.
Twitter.
I'm trying to make it like fit in like bars.
That is true.
Yeah.
Always the musician.
Well, I'm always saying that.
Well, speaking of Superman, Talking Superman sends us a question. It says, "Tell us exactly what happened here," and there's a photo. Do you know what this photo is?
Oh, this might be the Secret Six one.
It is. Yeah. This is from Secret Six. Let's take a little dive into it. I'm trying to expand the image so I can actually read it. There we go. So it's a room full of a bunch of people. I don't know Secret Six that well, so I'm going to just make an estimation of
Secret Six is basically like a group of kind of misfits and outcasts, mostly villains, sometime heroes, who are unwittingly forced together to defeat a common enemy who is known as Mockingbird. You don't know who it is. And in this particular series, the most recent Secret Six series, Mockingbird was revealed to be the Riddler.
Oh.
So in this shot, you see like Catman and Strix and maybe the ventriloquist. Then you also see...
So I'll tell you what I'm seeing. I'm seeing like a beige boy. I'm seeing like a Japanese like hentai like motorcycle rider. I'm seeing lady pimp. Crack.
Oh yeah, that's porcelain.
Yeah, crack cat lady.
That's ventriloquist.
So the ventriloquist is part of Crazy Cat Lady.
No, like that.
Because I see the dummy.
You mean the one that looks like from The Grudge or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the second ventriloquist, not like the meek like guy. Like
because that's who I know.
She actually has like telekinetic powers and is crazy, so she actually can ventriloquize things.
Is that it? I'm sorry. Is that a term?
It is now. I fucking love that word now.
Ventriloquize this character. And then there's a guy who looks like a Jack Superman with a like Aryan Nazi haircut.
I think it's not Big Show. It's like
it's
Big Shot.
Big Show.
Big Shot. That's his name.
And he's saying, "Oh dear God, I gotta get those plastic covers."
Yeah. So
somebody else. And then the ventriloquist says, "That's what she said." Sort of.
So it's been a while since I've read this, but I think I remember what this is. So in this series, these people are forced together. They don't know each other, but they're all captured by Mockingbird, and then they end up at Big Shot's house. He's putting them up for a bit while they're trying to figure out what is happening and what their next move has to be. But they're all misfits, and a couple of them are like not socialized. Like Strix is a former Talon, which is like the assassins of the Court of Owls, which was a Scott Snyder creation. But they're sort of like undead, like brainwashed assassins, basically. And I believe that the implication of this scene is that someone there, I would put my money on Strix, is not quote unquote housebroken. It's either her or Catman.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's the idea, that someone is like pissed on the couch. Fun fact about this particular Secret Six series, Big Shot, who's the character he's in like a brown coat. He looks like a abnormally sized like Harvey Bullock kind of character.
Yeah.
And he can kind of grow big, like not like Hulk, but kind of like that, sort of inflate himself a bit. It's revealed later in this series that he's actually a deep cover elongated man.
What?
That was the first time you saw elongated man in the New 52. It's the first time, yeah. I think it's the first time you saw him since he died. Or I guess
he was just
other
like
than the Blackest Night one.
forming himself into this other.
So he was like, yeah, because Mockingbird, like Riddler, had his wife and stuff like that. And but yeah, so a fun fact there. So that's actually the elongated man who's talking about having to get plastic sheets because, yeah, one member of the Secret Six is not housebroken, basically.
So is this just like another like sort of like this is a weird group of people with powers?
Yeah, and you know, like
it's very like
Catman,
late 90s. Like
Catman is like this particular series is relatively recent, 2014.
Oh, really? It reminds me very much of the 90s. But.
Gail Simone did a lot of work with Secret Six in like the mid 2000s and stuff like that. It's a cool team because they're people that don't feel like they belong together. Catman is an expert tracker. For this team, porcelain has the power to make things like fragile and brittle.
Oh, that's interesting.
Strix, like I said, master assassin. Ventriloquist has some telekinesis powers. Big Shot can grow or whatever. Who else was on that team? I don't remember. But at any rate,
that guy with the tan pants.
Black Alice, was Black Alice still on that team?
Who's the tan pants man?
That's Catman.
Oh. Can Catman do? I'm going to Catman too. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do.
If I ever get out of here, I'm gonna Catman do. So yes, I believe that's what's happening in that Secret Six, like series of panels there.
It's cat related.
It's piss related.
Yeah.
All
right. Whoa! Into the Weird. We got a question from Into the Weird. It's been a while. Into the Weird says, this might go to a darker place than what you guys have in mind.
Next question.
I'm liking you already. Loving this question already. But a lot of Alan Moore's treatment of female characters at DC in the 80s, specifically Abby Holland, Barbara Gordon, and the original Silk Spectre, make me super uncomfortable. Yeah. So what is he talking about with that?
This is a different...
I mean, I kind of get Barbara Gordon, but...
I mean, it's a slightly different version of Inappropriate. It's not tee-hee Inappropriate. It's like, ugh. Yeah. So, I mean, the Barbara Gordon one is Killing Joke.
Yeah.
Because she's not only
obviously
summarily crippled for the sake of someone else's story, but there's also all of these really like grotesque sexual implications that like the Joker is basically sexually abused her. Yeah. All these kind of, and then he's like showing the images to Gordon and shit like that. Like that's a super dark story. And it's a rare instance, I think, of Alan Moore not thinking too highly of himself. Like I think he regrets doing some of what he did. I don't know if he regrets all of it, but I think he does have maybe a slight retroactive opinion about how he treated Barbara Gordon in that story, because she's really just like, she's like furniture, right? Like it's not about her. It's not her journey through those things. It's we're doing this to break Gordon or to push Batman. She's just an object. It's that women in refrigerators thing. Yeah, I mean, like Abby Holland is that's Swamp Thing's lover, wife. She's also like the niece / continuity gets a little weird sometimes, I think. Niece / great niece / whatever of Anton Arcane, who's Swamp Thing's ultimate enemy, his arch enemy. And again, because of that relationship, she always ends up sort of like as a pawn, right? She's the person in danger or hurt or whatever in that game between Swamp Thing and Arcane. The Silk Spectre thing, again, it's the rape thing. The original Silk Spectre in Watchmen is raped by the comedian. It's a major story point because that is how the second Silk Spectre comes to be. That like big climactic moment where Dr. Manhattan decides he is going to save humanity, he is going to intervene in the escalating Cold War, is when he realizes that she is the product of this hateful act. And he says, you know, like, of all of the generations and all of the possible couplings and all of the possible, you know, like sperm,
all the gin joints and all the work.
Well, yeah, his point is that when you take like the probability of all of those things lining up to create her in that moment, it's statistically impossible that she exists, but she does. And that's the story point they use for him to realize how precious life and humanity is.
Yeah.
And it's all based in this sort of like gratuitous rape. The superhero rapes another superhero. It's like really brutal. And I mean, I think the movie does a good job of showing how awful it is. Yeah. That's a very difficult scene to watch in that movie. But yeah, I mean, these are like kind of three big Alan Moore properties that seem to like position women in like this sort of zone of sexual violence, which like that's a pattern. As a writer, like
that's paddling.
A pattern is what I said.
Speaking, that's a paddling.
You better believe that's a pattern.
Asking me about the paddle. You better believe that's a pattern.
But yeah, I mean, like, it bothers me too, and it's a different kind of inappropriate, right? It's stuff that has not aged well because it's wrong. You know, like,
it's wrong.
I don't think it was less.
It's wrong.
I don't think it was less wrong then, but I think comics were A, way more male centric, and B, I think they probably just shot down the criticism. You know, like it was a different era where they could get away with shooting that legitimate criticisms of those sort of things down. But yeah, I mean, that stuff's pretty horrible and definitely hasn't aged well. And it definitely dates stories we're using Alan Moore as an example. But there's lots of stories. Green Arrow, The Longbow Hunters by that's Mike Grell. It's a good story, but it's sort of like gratuitously puts Black Canary in a position of sexual violence. And she loses her fucking canary cry from the trauma of it. Like it's not just Alan Moore that did it. It's not just those couple of characters we mentioned that suffer from it. It's literally like every female character at some point. It's really horrible. The reason that the word women, like the phrase is women in refrigerators, is that in the 90s, Major Force takes, what's her name? Alex, what's her last name? Winters? I forget her last name, but she was the partner of Kyle Rayner, the new Green Lantern. And like, he basically he crumples her and puts her in a fridge.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's like a gruesome, horrible way to go. And Kyle opens the fridge and sees her in there. And then, but again, it's that being used as an object to further someone else's story. It's not about her journey to that. It's not like she keyed Major Force's car and then he came after her. She's just a thing that he goes after to do something story-wise for Kyle Rayner. And that is an ongoing problem, but it's definitely addressed better now than it was back then. But,
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to our new internet friend, Raz My Berries Reviews.
Yeah, raspberries.
Well, Raz My Berries.
Is that Dr. Savannah?
That's Dr. Savannah.
Oh, I feel like we haven't seen you in so long.
Oh, well, Raz My Berries, we better change that. I do declare.
The thing I love about when you come to visit Dr. Savannah is I feel like you
Do tell.
I feel like you never know what you're going to say, even as you're saying it.
I often just speak and see what possibly comes out.
I think you've had one too many mint juleps.
Yes, if that's what you call this juicy IPA.
All right, thank you.
No, I'm here for a little while. Suddenly
become Cajun?
I'll suddenly become Cajun, no?
Jean Valjean?
Oh,
What is happening? You're morphing.
I think I'm having a stroke, no?
Glug, 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 glug.
Raz My Berries Review says, how bad has Poison Ivy ever gotten? This feels like a character that you could do some damage, like inappropriateness wise.
She's definitely,
one of the most sexualized characters I think in DC.
We talked about the male gaze thing with Starfire. Poison Ivy totally is a character that falls into that trap. It's funny that he brings up Poison Ivy because not 4 or 5 days ago, I rewatched Batman and Robin.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh, bad movie, but I love watching it.
Is that Nicole Kidman?
No, that's Batman Forever.
Oh.
But in Batman and Robin, Uma Thurman plays Poison Ivy.
That's Uma Thurman.
I'm not going to remember the exact scene, but there's something, it's like Frieza's stealing diamonds or something, and or they're at that party where they're auctioning off diamonds to trap Freeze. And Poison Ivy says something to the effect of, and I'm not going to get the line right, but something to the effect of I'll help you get your rocks, or like she stops just short of saying I'll
get your rocks off. Yeah.
And that movie was aimed at kids.
Jeez.
That movie was designed
that was
to
the
sell
whole
toys.
point, yeah.
And she's in there
I'll help you come.
Testicles. Nothing sexier than that word.
Yeah. Testicles, the Greek version.
What's the worst, the most male gazy Poison Ivy has gotten? That is tricky. I think you can make the argument that the Arkham Poison Ivy is pretty male gazy, but at the same time, it almost makes a certain kind of sense that a character that is that devoted to and part of nature, part of the natural world, maybe wouldn't choose to wear clothes. I'm not saying you have to do you're obligated as an artist. I had to draw her naked. She's so natural. That's a shitty excuse.
But there's a good chance that she would choose to.
There's a certain logic by which that choice makes sense. The way she shows up in those Arkham games is with just the red top. It looks like she stayed over last night. She's wearing she's wearing your red shirt, and then she's basically naked. But there's sort of vines in that obscure things.
Do you think Poison Ivy is a vegetarian, or is that bad and she only eats animals? Is she a carnivore?
That's interesting. I'd suspect vegetarian, but it's about balance, right? It's there's a natural cycle to things as opposed to, yeah. I don't think she goes killing bunnies for eating lettuce or something, right?
Yeah,
it's about the destructive nature of humanity. That's the thing.
But she's not the Avatar of the Green.
No, she's not.
It's not like she has to feel like she has to protect it. It's more of,
well, I mean, she does feel that way, but only protect it from humans, right? The thing with the Green is that even though Swamp Thing doesn't necessarily hold this opinion, the Parliament of Trees views animal life and bacteria and all of those other kingdoms as threats in their entirety.
Yeah.
Swamp Thing is there to strike balance. He's there to find that line. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of comics, but I mean, I think also to use that movie that she kills men with a kiss, that's a literal femme fatale kind of move. But But there's also something because she's got like the pheromone thing or whatever. It's like you could probably make the argument that it's like it's a hot take about consent.
Well,
I don't want to give Joel Schumacher too much credit.
yeah, I'm like, I really highly doubt
that movie's garbage, and he didn't intend that. But in some
could be
in some ways
construed that way.
You could say that it's a commentary about consent and things like that. I think the worst that Poison Ivy was probably ever treated was probably any arc that involved Jason Woodrue, aka the Floronic Man, because that's he's a very negative influence, very sort of commanding, manipulative, exploitative kind of relationship. I'd say including that Reefer Madness arc that we've talked about before.
Yes,
he's always like wanting to like reproduce with Poison Ivy, like shit like that, like. I think that's probably among the poorer treatment she's received in terms of like that male gaze and those sort of suggestive things. Again, that's a character that is meant to be owning her sexuality, but that totally depends on how it's written and drawn. Is it written and drawn from the male fantasy perspective, or is it written and drawn as someone who's actually like liberated and in control of their sexuality?
So here's a question. Where do you think that stands in comics and like where that representation of those types of issues should lie? Like, should we remove like references to rape or like and things like that? Or is it important to show that those are issues, or should there be more balance?
Well, so it's not about saying they never happen or not acknowledging them. It's the context, right? So in Watchmen, you have an entire character, Silk Spectre 2, who only exists because of a rape, and really only exists as a story device so that Dr. Manhattan will be like, oh no, I'll come back again. It's basically just to tie up the third act of that whole thing.
Yeah.
She really, in that book, is no one. You know, oh, she's with Dr. Manhattan. But again, only doing that to bring him back in again, right? Like she's a story point. She's
given no agency. Like
she's not a character.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. So, you know, you could take that same circumstance of the comedian and the original Silk Spectre, but if the story was more about like Hollis Mason, the original Night Owl, like they talk about his book where he talks about like, you know, beating up or how what's his name, fucking the hooded Avenger or whatever that guy is, that who he beats up the comedian when he finds them or whatever. It's that tell-all book. If the story was like bent that way, was about like what did it do to the group, like then it's even that is then not that much about the original Silk Spectre, but I think it's getting closer to the idea that it's an actual like it's an event that's given weight. It's not just a story point. I don't think I have a good example loaded in the. I don't think I'm a good enough writer or anything like that to have an example loaded in the chamber of how it's done well. I could tell when I read things if I feel like it resonates or not.
Yeah. But
again, I'm also like a white man, so what I think is like, oh, that's very tastefully done. Like, it might not be. I'm not necessarily like the arbiter of what is correct in that circumstance.
That makes sense.
But yeah, I don't think it's about avoiding those things or pretending they don't happen, or like you can never address, you know, a rape or never address sexuality or things like that. But it's about context. It's about how it fits into the story. It's about how it affects and drives the character. Does it drive them? Is it about them, or is it about the people around them? And that's a big part of it.
Well, that's great. With that, the Dr. DC podcast will be back after this quick break. Hey there, residents. This episode of the Dr. DC podcast is brought to you thanks to our amazing sponsors, Great Lakes Grooming Co. They sent us some awesome products to try, so let's check them out. We have the Pine Tar Soap. This is amazing. We use it all the time at my house. It's a really wonderful sort of peppermint smell to it. It's a traditional recipe that they've developed themselves, and it's awesome. It's a great way to get clean and smell good every day. As well, I love the peppermint lip balm, especially this time of the year, living where we do, constantly getting sort of dry lips, and it's a huge pain. So definitely want to use that. Great Lakes Grooming is meant to be easy to use, rain or shine. All their products are purposely designed and environmentally responsible, handmade here in Canada, really ready for adventure wherever one may find themselves. For you lucky listeners, we also have an opportunity where you can get 10% off on Great Lakes Grooming regular priced products by going to www.greatlakesgrooming.com and using the promo code DRDCPodcast. That's right, www.greatlakesgrooming.com. Promo code is DRDCPodcast. Back to the show. Oh my God, we're back!
Hey!
Oh my God!
It's been so long.
Yay!
I can't believe you did a 3-hour ad.
Ooh, you don't even know what's coming for this ad.
I am.
You're. All right, let's head over.
Episode 69. I'm so disappointed.
That's what she said. Now we're heading to Instagram.
Now we're heading to Instagram. Take some questions and answer them. Oh, sorry. I forgot the jazz hands.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Can't all be me. Our old buddy, Just Gill.
Yeah,
Gill. The real Josh Gill on Instagram asks, more inappropriate, Deathstroke, Tara or Hal, or Aricia?
So, yeah, he's put 2 pairings. Deathstroke and Tara, or Hal and Aricia.
Oh, I see. I read that differently.
So these are both...
So Deathstroke, yeah, and Tara, or Hal and Aricia.
I'm going to understate this and say these are both examples of what you might call May-December relationships. That one character is quite a bit older than the other.
Oh, that's what that term means.
Yeah, have you never heard that?
No.
Yeah, it's a May-December relationship.
Well.
Yeah, because spring chick and grizzled winter man. So the first one, Deathstroke and Tara. I don't think we've really talked about Tara much before. She's the sister of Geoforce. So they both have like you call it like telekinesis. They can control like rocks and like the ground. They come from a country called Markovia, and they are royalty. They're a prince and princess. Tara is famous in the comics because she became a member of the Teen Titans and then betrayed them to Deathstroke. She was like spying on them. She was a traitor the whole time. And it culminates in this story called the Judas Contract. It's the story where Robin becomes Nightwing. It's the story that like basically she's been spying. She learns all their weaknesses, gives them to Deathstroke, and he goes to kill the Teen Titans as revenge for them unintentionally resulting in the death of his son, Grant. So that's all fine and dandy. But the implication of the Judas Contract story is that Tara's not just working for Deathstroke, that they are like a thing. But keep in mind, Tara is a member of the name again, Teen Titans. And Deathstroke is like fucking 50.
Yikes.
She's meant to be like 15.
Ugh.
It's not explicit in the original Judas Contract story. But many subsequent stories, which have like flashed back to that era, have been, I say explicit, they haven't like shown them fucking or something, but like they've been
his throbbing shaft.
They've shown like her getting like undressed and he's in bed and shit like that. Like they were together. And Deathstroke is a character that they've like tried to make like almost anti-heroic. They're like, look how cool he is, and like this is like a big like he's only so cool. Like,
yeah. He's not that cool.
He hooked up with a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
He's like 50. So that's pretty awful and gross. They slightly retconned it in a recent Deathstroke issue. not implying that it didn't happen, but the retcon is that Deathstroke wasn't that interested in her. The culmination of the Judas contract thing is that she's, helping to destroy the Teen Titans. She's been made a traitor, and like she's got emotions from that. Deathstroke gets kind of like mind controlled or whatever, and then it looks like he's betraying her, and then she goes nuts.
Yeah.
So the retcon is that when she goes nuts, she doesn't actually die in that event, and Deathstroke is trying to calm her down, and basically he like kisses her, and I guess they hook up, and that's his way of surviving that. I just want to be perfectly clear. That's not better.
No, it's just different.
It's just different. It's just a different story thing. And I think they did it more just to maybe explain like what Deathstroke was getting out of that. Sorry, that's a terrible way to phrase that. Oh, Jesus. This is a real minefield. It's only a slight retcon. Deathstroke is basically still not basically. He is a statutory rapist.
Yeah.
So that's one of them. Pretty damn gross. The other one is Hal and Aricia. They're both Green Lanterns. Aricia is an alien. And when she was first introduced, he would call her like little sister, and she'd call him big brother.
Oh, yeah.
Because she's meant to be young. She has a big crush on Hal. And they fucking hammer this thing home in like every fucking issue. It's like they couldn't let it go. It was like her only character trait that she was like had a crush on Hal. And sometimes she would say it, or sometimes she wouldn't quite say it. And Hal like knew it. That sometimes he'd be like, "You need to stop flirting with me. Like this is not okay." And then when it finally like it boils over, and he's like, "No, like we can't do this. You're a teenager." She's like, "No, like I'm in Earth years, I'm 14, but my planet goes around the sun like twice as fast. I'm like 28." And he's like, "That's not, no, you're still a teenager. It's not going to happen." Hal's being a good guy about this. This is a slightly weird one because we've talked about before maybe what a Green Lantern ring can do. Batman's one contingency for Green Lantern is to plant like a hypnotic suggestion that he's blind, and then his own powerful will would make him blind because he'd believe it. This kind of thing happens to Aricia. She so badly wants to be with Hal that subconsciously she wants to grow up. She wants to be old enough for him. And her willpower and the ring age her. So she's not like chronologically older or like that much older, but biologically and mentally, like psychologically, she has aged to adulthood. And then they do start hooking up, and they're like a thing in the comics for a while. They live together for a bit. They're a couple in the comics in the 70s, I guess it is. Or maybe even the 80s. But so we've got these two things. We've got Deathstroke and a 15-year-old Tara. We've got Hal and technically an adult, even though she's chronologically not.
I'm going to say Deathstroke
by definition, the Deathstroke one has to be worse. But they're both creepy in their own way.
Yep.
Yeah, they're not great. The Deathstroke one, though, is categorically worse.
That chills me to the bone.
It's super messed up. And actually, they made an animated film of the Judas contract, it's pretty gross.
Oh, they don't steer away from it at all.
Again, they don't like show them hooking up or like, you know what I mean? Like it's not a sex scene, but like it's
enough.
Like it's messed up.
Yikes. All right. Well, let's go to the next question from the X-Doctor 91.
I'm so sorry. I wish you were still a doctor.
So they say, not really a question, but literally the entire Vertigo run of Hellblazer. Sex joke after drug reference after Swamp Thing body possession for Leafy Nookie. I like that he uses Nookie. That's very adorable. Or he or she, I don't know.
Do you know what that Swamp Thing body possession thing makes me think of?
Do tell.
I really should say this backwards. This other thing sometimes makes me think of the Swamp Thing body possession is if you really think about the movie Ghost, that like romantic scene with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore is Demi Moore like fucking the shit out of Whoopi Goldberg. Because he's a ghost and she's a medium. Oh. That's the implication of that whole scene is that like they're spiritually like connecting one last time, but like physically Demi Moore's hooking up with Whoopi Goldberg?
It's Guinan, actually.
She's playing Guinan?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're hooking up in 10 Forward. They were being very 10 Forward with each other.
Yes! You got to immerse.
But yeah, that Hellblazer run, the Vertigo run, I mean, first, by nature of being a Vertigo title, they could be racier anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's Constantine, too. He's kind of debaucherous. So there's lots of, like, sex, cocaine, like...
Cocaine. You got the sex.
Yep. Go on.
You got the nookie.
Leafy nookie. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that series had more liberties with that. They didn't have to play as coy about it. They could be pretty overt with, like, yeah, John Constantine he's just finished having sex with a hooker or, like, whatever was happening in the story, right? Yeah, I mean, it's part of that character. Now, in other adaptations of Constantine that aren't given quite the liberties that is taken, you have to imply it a little bit. He has to be a little bit like, coy and British. Yeah. But yeah, Constantine is a character that would reasonably be someone that might pay for sex or do cocaine off of toilet seats or like any of those things. He's based on like 80s kind of pop punk and stuff like that, right? Like he's inspired by a scene. Like he's meant to look kind of like Sting and
that type of
and Sting and like Bowie. Yeah, not like
all the Constantine.
Yeah, no, like
demons.
The 80s version of pop punk, not yeah. When I was a young boy.
You left me crosses by the stairs.
You know what? I shouldn't shit on My Chemical Romance. A, because I really like them. Mm-hmm. B, because I love Gerard Way and he's a great comic book creator.
Oh, always bringing it back around.
But yeah, I mean, I don't have too much to say about it, but Constantine is totally like... I would go so far as to say Constantine might be a bit of a nymphomaniac. Maybe not clinically. Like, I'm sure someone out there is like, the definition of nymphomania is like... I like when on this show I shit on people who are nerdy about different things. Like it's worse.
Unless it's DC.
Like,
you're just a dork.
Oh, you know about psychology? Geek?
Nerd. Yeah. Get them, boys.
But yeah, I mean, I think you can make the argument that there's some sort of like nymphomania, self-destructive behaviors, things like that. Yeah, Constantine's totally into all that stuff. It's pretty explicit in those comics. You don't see his dick or anything, but like you could.
Oh, why even read it? All right, let's head over.
I want to take a very, very quick detour here.
Okay.
Because you said, like, why would you? And I've mentioned a couple times that comic book writers aren't writing porn. Have you ever just like... I mean, this sounds like I'm lying. Have you ever just accidentally found people's like fanfic porn?
Sure, accidentally.
But
when you're trolling DeviantArt.
For example, when we did our diversity episode, I was just doing some reading up, and I just wanted to find like where it was comic established that Harley and Ivy were together.
Yeah, you're asking for trouble with that.
So I know, like a fucking idiot, I typed Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, bisexual ? Because I've never used the internet.
Yeah, because what could that bring up?
I've never used the internet before.
That happens to me with Supernatural all the time.
But then, like, I just kind of like read it. It wasn't porn, but I was like reading these like sexy like fanfics.
Do you remember
with like that were done as comic books? Like, there's a lot of people out there that have like some pretty detailed interpretations of how characters interact.
I'm going to implicate myself a little bit right now.
Did you write them? Was I reading yours?
Oh my god! Wait, so did the part?
Are you like lowercase x, uppercase x, lowercase x, goth girl 69?
I mean, if I was, what did you think? Do you remember a website from like the 90s called Literotica?
No.
You totally do. Yes. Yes. Oh, you kids don't even know when the internet was so slow you couldn't watch video porn. You had to read it
like a fucking book.
Oh yeah, you know how you love to get off to text?
Yeah, adjectives.
Yeah, remember when your imagination was enough to get you off?
Oh yeah, fucking adverb.
Remember when the description?
How did they do it? That's what I want. Adverb. Tell me
My
how
favorite was that they had the what's it called, where they have like the where they're the questions, and then you would, based on how you would answer the question, it was and it was just like, it was like you
There's Mad Libs.
Yeah. Well, there's
sexy
a term. There's a term for those type of books.
The Choose Your Own Adventure.
Yeah, Choose Your Own Adventure. They had those, but it was like, you're backstage at Britney Spears' concert. Because it's the 90s.
That's placing the air.
Yeah. Oh, God, that's too funny.
Yeah, no, I don't remember that.
No, not at all. No, a really bad one for that type of fanfic is Supernatural. They love to make like the brothers like do stuff with each other all the time.
Oh, okay. That's weird.
Yeah, no, totally weird. But that's like,
why would you make brothers do it?
They love to make brothers do it. I don't know, why do guys like two sisters doing it?
I don't think, but do guys actually like that?
I think like,
because that would weird me out.
Bro dudes do.
Very honest.
Oh, no.
I'm not trying to be woke or anything, but like that would, even if I initially was like, you're both very hot, that's great, let's go back to my place. If we went back to my place, I'd be like, oh, like, are you guys gonna have to like look at each other during this? I'd be like, is this weird for you?
I'm like, I've hard enough not disappointing one woman. Now I have to disappoint both of you plus your family. So there's a lot of implications lying there, and a lot of weighs on your shoulders. I'm just saying.
Yeah, sorry for that tangent, but it just made me think about that.
It was necessary.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's head over to email.
Chuck the email
to email. Hope it's from a female.
We're merging them now.
Yeah. I'm getting creative.
Every week I hope it's from a female.
Oh my God, I love this account. There's no way that this is a real email or like a. So it's from Feifei, but I'm pretty sure the email was something Kafefe. Did you not?
Like
did you not? Yeah.
No, I didn't.
I won't say the actual thing in case it's their actual email, but it was something Kafefe at gmail.com or something like that. It's like, I feel like they made up the email. If they didn't, that's hilarious that that's just your email now. And my real question is, was it like that before that happened?
No, that has to be deliberate.
It's got to be fake, right?
There's no way.
So I love that we wrote this as the questions from Feifei.
So sorry, it's spelled like F-A something?
It's C-O like F-E-F-E.
Oh, it's actually spelled like that. Oh, fuck, that's really funny.
When I read that, I was like, okay. I mean, I know you can technically write anything in our email, but I'd like to know who they're from so that we can respond to you sometimes.
That's very funny.
I love when they just are like, well, I'm just going to make up an email. So Feifei asked, I hope it's just like...
Wait, you can make up an email? Oh, I guess it doesn't check. It's just a form on a website.
Yeah. It's just when you're trying to respond.
Right.
Doesn't know. I'm really hoping this is actually their email though, because that's the commitment.
That's very funny.
So Feifei asks, I remember there being sexy jokes in the Justice League cartoon. What were your favorite suggestive comments?
Ooh, that's a good one. Again, we were talking about this, like there are always jokes for older viewers in kids or family things. It's there because it'll go over their head, but it's there so that like the adults there with you aren't like just slowly dying. Justice League Unlimited, when it sort of expanded the Justice League to include like every hero ever, they definitely had some moments with some like sexual tension and things like that. Okay, there's a couple that come to mind. One, there's a mission one time where they go to space, and it's the Flash and Hawkgirl and Fire. And I don't know if we've talked about Fire, but she's a Brazilian superhero. Her name is Beatriz da Costa. And guess what? She's very sexy. She's hot like fire.
Hot.
Curvy Brazilian, basically.
It's caliente.
Well, but Brazil speaks Portuguese. Is the word caliente still?
I don't know.
Yeah. Do your fucking research.
I'm fucking ignorant.
I thought you were a producer. So in this episode, they're flying to space, and Flash, who in that show is Wally West, wants to flirt with Fire, doesn't know what he's doing or whatever. And I guess he strikes out or something. And he's talking to Hawkgirl, and he says something about being the fastest man alive, and Hawkgirl says maybe that's why you can't get a date. Like that's not a joke for kids. It's, you know, it's not like super lewd or anything, but it's definitely implying something that you shouldn't be talking explicitly about in a cartoon. There's another one where the Huntress and the Question, like, they have a bit of like a relationship, and at one point they're on the phone, and yeah, this would go over kids' heads, but she asks what he's wearing, and the Question just says like blue trench coat, orange socks. He's just like literally listing it, and she's like, orange sock, like she's waiting for him to be sexy, and he won't.
I remember
those are two that are kind of funny.
Do you remember when the Flash did those like energy bar commercials? And and then he ends up buying that van
with the fucking hydraulics.
And then Green Lantern, something like what? Why would you need a van? And he's like, you know what? Actually, I don't even want to know. Don't tell me what you need.
Does he say like half of the, like, if the vans are rocking or something?
Yes,
yeah, some version of that.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's right. He buys a Flash van. Yeah.
I mean, part of me now is just like, I totally want that van, but
yeah. I mean, there are a few different things in there. Batman and Wonder Woman's wasn't like lewd. It wasn't like, but the Wonder Bat sort of ship that they had on that show was more implied than anything. Like, you never like explicitly saw them together, but you knew that they were a thing. So that, I mean, that was. But that wasn't like lewd or suggestive or anything like that. There's definitely... Oh, fuck. Batman the Animated Series. Is it Mad Love? Is that the episode where Harley comes out of the pie and she says like, thought you'd want to rev your Harley.
Yes.
Like shit like that. Like she's like dripping in like creamy custard.
Yeah.
Like that's the one. That's the suggestive moment in animation.
Ooh. There's like, I remember there being something about like Batman Beyond. There being something where it was like Terry's father and like DNA. And there was something about like leaving DNA all over town.
Oh, right. Waller's talking about how she gets Bruce's DNA, and she says he was leaving it all over town. And then she goes, not like that. Not what I meant. But like, she means that he was slowing down in his old age. He was like bleeding in battle and stuff like that.
Yeah.
She does have to say that's not remotely what I meant. Yeah, no, you're right. That's another good one.
Oh my God. Yeah, there was a lot of that.
Go back and watch literally any cartoon. You'll be surprised at how dirty they are.
It's impressive that they were able to get away with a lot of that stuff. All right. Next email is from Harvey. Harvey says...
So flip a coin to see whether or not we answer this question.
Oh, I like that.
We should do a Two-Face Rules episode where we just don't answer some questions.
Maybe you'll get an answer, maybe you won't. Maybe this episode will be 30 minutes, maybe it won't.
I actually fucking love that idea. Let's
bank
that one. We'll actually answer Harvey's question.
Will we?
I don't have sound effects.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I'm waiting for the ting, ting, ting.
Just miming, flipping.
I'm glad. That's great visual humor for this podcast. Harvey asks, is there any character more inappropriate than Bueno Excelente?
We've talked about Bueno Excelente before. The short answer is no. There is no character more inappropriate than Bueno Excelente.
For new listeners,
for those that don't remember,
explain.
He's a member of a team called Section 8, which are these like lame, weird, basically insane, quote unquote superheroes. Six Pack is a drunk who may or may not have reality altering powers. Dog Welder welds dead dogs to people.
God, I hate
and
that.
Can communicate through dead dogs. And maybe is given power by the Egyptian god Anubis. There's a character called the Defenestrator who carries a window around so that he can throw people through it. But there's a character on the team, and his name is Bueno Excelente. And he does not have a power. I don't even want to call it a skill or an ability. He does a thing. That I just have to come out and say it. His thing is that he rapes his adversaries. He's a sex offender. He's a sex offender who sexually abuses his adversaries. That's it. He only speaks using the words bueno and excelente, like a Pokemon.
Yeah.
Which I think I might have said the last time that we talked about him. and that's it. He's just like a dirty, like fat, ugly guy in a trench coat who is like a rapist and a flasher and like a sex offender. It's really disgusting. It's meant to be funny, but that's a one thing in that section 8 that like I don't think there's a way to make that funny. I don't know if maybe the intention is just to show how dark that is. But like, yeah, it's gross and awful. And yeah, there is no character more inappropriate than that, because that's literally the only thing he's good for. You know, it's not, we talked about Deathstroke, who does this awful thing. But Deathstroke as a character, you can learn about him. Like, oh, he's got a son, or like, oh, he's a mercenary, or like, even if you know, the only thing we know or the only thing we care about is that he hooks up with Tara, and that's gross and awful. There's at least like, we can pretend that there are other things about that character. You can't do that with Bueno Excelente. He only exists to be a sex offender, and he like quote unquote like uses it for heroics. Like, whoa. Yeah, like I can't think.
No, he rapes for good.
I mean, that's essentially what the implication is.
Jesus.
It's just, which is pretty fucked up. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's Bueno not so excelente.
No. Es muy non excelente. I don't even know how to say what's the opposite of bad? Bueno is good. What's bad in Spanish? Mal?
I was going to say, I'm like, like you.
Es mal.
You know French,
excelente?
So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yo quiero.
No.
All right, let's go on to the very last question, which means that we're heading over to Reddit,
where everything is great and no one's ever mean.
That's right. We get a question from Oliopio34.
Is he Italian?
Oliopio. Who says, wasn't there some implication in Justice that Black Canary is, shall we say, loud?
Yes, there absolutely is. So Justice was a comic book written and art by Alex Ross, who's you've undoubtedly seen his artwork. It's the stuff that looks like super realistic, like oil paintings.
Yeah.
He did all the artwork for Kingdom Come and stuff like that. It's very, very prolific artist. And in this this moment they're talking about in this book, Justice, is Clayface shows up in like Ollie's apartment to kill him, and he's disguised as Dinah, as Black Canary. Clayface doesn't know that in real life Dinah isn't a blonde. That's a wig she wears, so that's what gives up the gig. And they, you know, there's a fight or whatever, and then Dinah comes in and does her like sonic scream, and they beat Clayface. And then she says to Ollie, like, how did you know, or like, how did you know it wasn't me, or some shit like that? Or no, I think she's actually asking, like, how did you stand my sonic scream there, you know, when I went to destroy Clayface? And he takes out earplugs and he says, I like something to the effect of, you said you were coming over, so I put in earplugs because I thought it was going to be that kind of night. So, implying basically that that Black Canary's like orgasm induces her sonic scream.
Jesus Christ!
That she's like shattering neighborhood windows when they have sex, which is,
my God,
like, that's a hilarious thing to imply, especially if you think of, like, if these are two like fit adrenaline junkies, they're probably having sex a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of money on window pane.
Yeah, I mean, like, imagine the insurance that you have to pay if you live in Star City. In a certain neighborhood of Star City, be like, yes, I don't know why, but the windows just explode like 2, 3, 4 times a night.
Sometimes in the morning. We all can't break glass in the morning. So yes, that's...
But yeah, the implication is that when Black Canary orgasms, she lets out her sonic scream.
Good Lord.
Yeah. Which means that, like, Ollie's like literally endangering his life by being good at sex.
It happens to the best of us.
That's what you call a playboy. My man.
Ow, ow.
What a shitty way to end this episode.
Oh, and with that, that is the end of the episode. Those are some great questions.
Terrific questions. But I want to introduce
The new segment?
a new short little segment. Very, very short. I just thought it'd be fun at the end of every episode. We talked about Dial H a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how it was just an excuse basically to come up with random characters.
So you want us to come up with...
So I think each episode at the end, we'll just pitch like our random like superhero, like Dial H creation and what their powers are.
So if you guys want to play along too at home, if you send us a tweet, give us the hashtag DialDoc, and send us what you think your episode of your character of the week is going to be, and we definitely want to hear. So what's yours, Doc?
Okay, so mine is...
What's the character name first?
Well, yeah, so the name is like Mike, like MIC, like a microphone.
Oh, okay.
It's mitochondria.
Well,
he's takes the form of a stand-up comedian that can manipulate people on a cellular level by telling bad jokes.
So it's me. It's basically me. Yeah.
Imagine how I was inspired. So yeah, mitochondria is my.
Ooh, so do you have a weakness?
I guess the weakness would be like that hook that pulls people off stage.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, it's my turn.
Do you
yeah, sure. Well, I can figure something out very quickly. His name is Mahogany with like Knee at the end. So Mahogany.
Okay.
He's a master of Muay Thai.
Okay, yeah.
So, all elbows and knees.
Yeah.
And his weakness is any bladed weapon.
Right. Does he actually have like wooden joints?
Yeah, he's made of all wood.
He's all wood or just his joints?
No, all of wood.
Okay.
All wood.
So he's mahogany and he's like a Muay Thai fighter made of wood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Use that hashtag DialDoc.
Send us what your guys' characters of the week is. Give us some creative stuff. Maybe we can see some artwork. I would love to see. I don't care how bad or good they are. I want to see your guys.
If someone can draw mitochondria, I will. I'll be so happy. My God,
you're gonna do some inappropriate moments for them.
Oh no.
So if you guys want to send us questions for next week's episode, which is going to be...
Oh, fuck. What is next week's episode?
That's why we use the edit point, so we can edit this point out.
I really make you work for this fucking show.
I know. It's okay. All I have to do is just look at the volume bar and look for where there's a gap and no talking at all.
Fuck, the next one is with Simon. I actually don't know what the next one is.
Oh, we don't. Okay, so if you guys want to send us in a question for whenever we come up with whatever the next week episode is going to be, you can do through our various social media and website and all that other fun stuff, much like our Facebook.
Dr. DC Podcast.
You can go to Instagram and send us awesome video questions and photos and all that fun stuff.
Video questions. We're like Jeopardy now.
Yeah.
Dr. DC Podcast.
You can go to our Twitter
at Dr. DC.
We're having have conversations with us. People are constantly sending us stuff. We're reaching out to people more than people are even reaching out to us. Just being part of the conversation. So
please talk to me.
Talk to us. Be part of the conversation. Send us questions. It doesn't all have to be about the theme every week. We're interested in what you guys think. We want to know what you're watching. We want to know.
We want to know about your lives.
Playing.
Have you talked to your mom recently?
Yeah. What's your social security number? Like, these are the types of important questions that we want.
What's your greatest fear?
Yeah, we've already answered that question.
Is your greatest fear that you're not going to be good enough? Because I believe in you. I've been watching Queer Eye again.
I was going to say
inspiration.
Did you watch the one they did at Netflix? They went in and like worked with one of the people from Netflix.
No.
Yeah, they have a bunch of YouTube content. They went to Australia.
Oh shit.
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can find out. You can go to our website,
drdcpodcast.com or .ca,
where you can find our merch page. We've got a new merch page and all this fun merch that you guys can buy. We're always adding stuff. If you guys have any ideas of merch that you want to see, let us know. But
mitochondria trading card.
Not that. But we've got the because you like that, didn't you? That was off the top of my fucking head too. Because we got a because Speed Force shirt. So you can go to Comic-Cons and point at yourself. We've got the I swear to God, if one of you guys buys the Jason Momoa's Mimosa Samosa shirts and goes to a signing with him and takes a photo of the two of you wearing that shirt, I swear to God, I will owe you for the rest of my life. I want that to happen so bad.
I think it would induce Richard's sonic scream.
I almost had Stump Chunkman doing it, but he wasn't able to do it. But like,
Oh.
he was so close. I desperately want this to happen. If the first person who does that, I don't know, we'll sign something and send it to you or something. I don't know,
totally.
because I desperately want this to happen. Please make my dreams come true. Speaking of making my dreams come true, send us reviews, 5-star review. Go to iTunes, give us 5-star. You guys have been doing so good. We're at like around 20 reviews right now. We're so close to the 52 to make Colin read Superman for All Seasons. This is making our dreams come true. Giving us those 5-star reviews. Write whatever you want. I don't care. We'll read it on the next show. But you guys have been coming out in droves. We're getting ones from America and Canada. I want to see some British flags up there. I want to see Australia. I want to see like all around the world. Like,
where the fuck you at, Belarus?
yeah, I don't know if we have any review. I know we've got some fans in like Brazil and things like that. So let's see those. I want to see those flags up there. Give us reviews. Take a photo of them if you've done it, and we haven't talked about it yet because I can only work with what programs are available to me. As far as I can see, the only ones we've been getting are from America and Canada. But I know you guys are out there. I know that you guys are in the UK and all around the world. So send us those reviews. Give us those 5-star reviews. That helps out a whole bunch. It helps us give us more fans, and we can talk about even weirder concepts of episodes and get new questions maybe you haven't thought about. But yeah, so I think, is that it?
I think so.
Awesome. Well, some sort of sign off, I guess.
Adios.
Jacques.
Superheroes, they always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure, they are men of might.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.